The Book of Raziel.
Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive.
Yeah.
Today we're diving into something pretty intense. Sefer Raziel Hammelach. You might know it as the Book of Raziel the Angel.
That's the one.
And just the backstory on this one. Well, it's pretty wild, right? Like, legend has this book was a gift to Adam.
No way.
Yeah, before he left the Garden of Eden.
Wow.
I know. So we're talking passed down from Adam to Noah. It even made its way to King Solomon.
Talk about ancient wisdom.
Right. And you wanted to deep dive into this one because, well, you're hoping to unpack some of those core mystical concepts.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, something written that long ago, it's got to have some serious weight to it, you know?
Absolutely. And maybe we can figure out if it still holds up today,
You know?
if it's still relevant.
Right. Like, how do we even begin to approach something like that?
Well, that's where your expertise comes in, thankfully.
Yeah.
So where do we even begin with Sefer Raziel Hammelach? What makes it so unique?
Well, for me, what's so cool about Sefer Raziel Hammelach is how it kind of acts as this bridge. It brings together all these older mystical traditions. We're talking Egyptian, Babylonian, Indian, Persian, even Greek thought.
So to really grasp this book, we need to understand the entire conversation that's been going on for centuries, huh? Like we're just joining in midstream.
Exactly. Think about it. Egyptian hieroglyphs, they weren't just a writing system. Those symbols, they held this deeper meaning, magical even.
Right, like each one was a key to a different part of their cosmology or whatever.
Exactly. Or take the Babylonian creation myth. Marduk battling Tiamat, this primordial chaos.
Oh yeah, the forces of order versus chaos. That's a common thread through a lot of ancient mythology.
Exactly. And that struggle, that's a huge theme in Sefer Raziel Hammelach, too. This idea that humans, we have a role to play in keeping that cosmic balance.
So it's not just about the literal story. It's about that deeper meaning it's trying to convey. This idea that we, even as tiny humans, can influence the cosmos.
Absolutely. And here's the thing. These echoes, they point to something much bigger.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Lay it on me.
The idea that reality itself, the cosmos, can be understood and get this even influence through rituals, prayers, all these specific practices.
And Sefer Raziel Hammelach is claiming to hold the keys to those practices.
That's the claim, yeah. And it's drawing on these older traditions to do it. Like it's a tapestry, you know, woven from threads of wisdom passed down through the ages.
I like that, a mystical tapestry. But it's
Yeah.
not just borrowing ideas, right? It's doing something new with them.
Exactly. It takes those threads and it creates its own unique structure, its own system of mystical thought.
Okay, so let's break down that structure. What are the main parts of Sefer Raziel Hammelach, and how do they fit into this bigger web of mystical traditions?
Well, it's surprisingly organized, for one. There's the Book of Clothing.
Book of Clothing, that's a pretty cryptic title.
Right. But it's all about the power of divine names and how they're used in things like talismans and amulets. And it gets super specific. We're not just talking the name of God, but the idea that the names of days, of angels, even celestial bodies, they all hold this unique power.
Okay, hold on. We need to unpack that a bit.
Mhm.
When we're talking divine names in this context, we're not just talking labels.
Right. This is where those Egyptian connections come in. Remember how we talked about hieroglyphs? How they held this deeper essence?
Yeah, yeah.
Sefer Raziel Hammelach, it suggests these names, they have a frequency, a creative power that can literally impact reality.
Whoa. So it's like each name acts as a specific code, a way to tap into creation itself.
Precisely. And it's not just about outward power either. Sefer Raziel Hammelach is big on introspection, understanding. That's where the homiletic reflections come in.
Homiletic reflections. Catchy. So what's that all about?
It's philosophical stuff. Musings on the creation of the world, the role of angels, even how time works from a mystical perspective. It's encouraging that inward journey alongside the outward practices.
I like that, this idea that understanding the cosmos, the spiritual realm, it's a two-way street. You got to look inward as much as outward. And this book seems to be offering a guide for both, huh?
That's it. And for those who really want to go deep on those divine names, there's a whole section called The Record of Great Letters. It's dedicated to the 72 and 42 letter names of God.
Okay, now you're just messing with me. 72 and 42 letter names. What's the deal with that?
This is where those Hebrew mystical traditions really shine through. These names, they're rooted in Hebrew, and each letter, it's like a key. It unlocks a specific aspect of creation.
So by understanding those combinations, the sequences, you're basically learning the language of creation itself.
That's the idea. We're not talking about names as labels anymore, but as the very building blocks of existence.
So it's like the universe has its own secret code, and Sefer Raziel Hammelach is giving us a peek behind the curtain.
And it doesn't stop there. The book goes on to explain how these names are actually used. There's a section called Hamazaloth, and it focuses on talismans. It ties them not only to these divine names, but to astrology too.
Okay, hold on. Astrology. Now we're adding another layer to this mystical cake. This deep dive just got even more interesting. But before we get lost in the stars, I want to hear about those practical applications you mentioned. Like, what can you actually do with all this knowledge?
Well, you'd be surprised how practical Sefer Raziel Hamalach gets. It's not all just, mystical theories. It actually gives you ways to put these ideas into practice.
Okay, now we're talking. Give me the good stuff.
All right, so for example, solstice rituals. They're a big deal in the book.
Solstice rituals. Now we're speaking my language. What kind of stuff are we talking about here?
Think about it. Those key moments in the year, those astronomical turning points, the book is all about harnessing that energy. And it gets really specific, too. We're talking rituals for influencing the weather, bringing good fortune, even finding hidden water sources.
Wait, hold up. Finding water? Like, with magic? That's next-level dowsing.
Right. It makes you think about how this knowledge might have been passed down, maybe even save lives in times of drought.
That's why, it wasn't just philosophy back then. It was practical survival stuff.
Exactly. Understanding the rhythms of nature, the cycles of the cosmos, it was woven into daily life. And it wasn't just about weather either. There's stuff in there about using ritual magic for taming animals, too.
Okay, now that's just cool. Though I imagine it takes more than just whispering a divine name to get a lion to chill out.
Yeah, probably. It takes dedication, focus, that's for sure. Remember, it's not just about the words themselves. It's about aligning yourself with that energy, that intention.
Right, like you're tapping into something much bigger than yourself.
Exactly. But let's move on from taming wild beasts for a sec. Sefer Raziel Hamalach also gets into talismanic magic.
Ooh, talismanic magic. So we're talking amulets, charms, all that good stuff.
Yeah. Things you wear or carry to harness certain energies. And remember how we talked about them being connected to divine names and even astrology?
Yeah, it's all starting to come together now.
It's about layering those concepts to make something powerful. So you might have a talisman with a divine name for protection, and then based on your birth chart, you'd craft it from a specific metal or wear it on a certain day to make it even stronger.
So it's like a personalized cosmic power-up. I like it. But this isn't just about getting what you want, is it? There's more to it than that, right?
I got it. Remember we were talking about that inner reflection? That's important here, too. Sefer Raziel Hamalach says that when you understand the cosmos, the meaning behind the names, the astrology, you're not just messing with energy, you're aligning yourself with something bigger.
It's that as above, so below thing, right?
Yeah.
The microcosm and the macrocosm.
That's it. And speaking of hidden connections, Sefer Raziel Hamalach is really into dream interpretation, too.
Oh, yeah, dreams. They can be pretty wild. What does the book say about them?
Well, it says that our dreams aren't just random, neurons firing. It's saying they're glimpses into this deeper symbolic realm. And just like those divine names have specific meanings, so do the things we see in our dreams.
So it's like our subconscious minds are tapping into that same cosmic language.
Exactly. And Sefer Raziel Hamalach gives us a way to decode those messages. It even has examples of dream interpretations, talking about how they can guide us, warn us, even show us our hidden potential.
Okay, so we've covered rituals, talismans, dream interpretation, all super cool stuff, and all connected to those ancient traditions we were talking about before. Well, let's go back to those divine names for a sec. You mentioned that there are specific names for specific things like wealth, health, protection. Can you give us some concrete examples of how those are actually used?
Sure. But it's important to remember that Sefer Raziel Hamalach takes a very reverent approach to these practices. These names aren't just tools to be used lightly. You're calling on a powerful force, and it should be treated with respect.
Right. You don't want to mess with forces you don't understand.
Exactly. But to answer your question, the book talks about incorporating these names into prayers, writing them on talismans, using them in meditation. It's about creating a resonance, aligning yourself with the energy you're trying to connect with.
So it's not just about saying the word, it's about understanding it, connecting with it on a deeper level.
Exactly. That's where the true power lies.
This all goes back to what you were saying before about Sefer Raziel Hamalach being a bridge between the seen and unseen. And it makes me think there's one key player we haven't really talked about yet. Angels.
Ah, yes. Can't forget about the angels. They're essential to this whole system. They're like the go-betweens, connecting humans and the divine.
So they're not just hanging out on clouds playing harps all day.
Not quite. They're messengers, guides, protectors. They're involved in all sorts of ways. For one, they're often called upon during rituals. Remember those solstice rituals we were talking about? You might invoke specific angels associated with the sun or the seasons.
So each angel has their own specialty, their own area of expertise.
You could say that. And remember those 72 and 42 letter names of God? Well, each one of those names is often associated with a specific angel, too, almost like a personal attendant or guardian of that particular energy.
Wow, so it's like having a direct line to the cosmic switchboard. But it's not just about getting what you want, right? It seems like there's a lot of responsibility that comes with this, too.
Absolutely. Sefer Raziel Hamelach doesn't shy away from the power of these practices, but it's always emphasizing respect, humility, and understanding the potential consequences.
It's like being given the keys to a really powerful car.
Yeah.
Got to learn how to drive it before you put your foot on the gas.
Exactly. And speaking of navigating powerful forces, there's one more aspect of Sefer Raziel Hamelach we need to touch on. Its connection to astrology.
Astrology. It's like the cosmic fingerprint we've been hinting at all along, right?
It's everywhere in Sefer Raziel Hamelach. Like, it's really woven into everything. The book basically says that those celestial bodies, their movements, their relationships, they hold the key to understanding what happens here on Earth, even our own individual destinies.
So it's not just about knowing whether you're a Gemini or a Sagittarius. It's about understanding this whole cosmic dance happening above us.
Exactly. Sefer Raziel Hamelach, it gets into how those celestial bodies, the ruling angels, they all connect. And it's those connections that create this unique astrological blueprint for each of us.
Which brings us to those birth charts. I'm guessing Sefer Raziel Hamelach sees them as more than just a fun personality test you take online, huh?
Oh, absolutely. It's way deeper than that. This book, it really stresses how important it is to understand your own birth chart. It's like it's a tool, you know? It can help you navigate all the crazy stuff that life throws at you, and it can also help you unlock your true potential. It's wild.
So it's like a cosmic roadmap, showing you the terrain of your destiny.
That's a great way to put it. And here's the thing. Sefer Raziel Hamelach doesn't just say you should understand that map. It says you can actually use it to work with those cosmic forces. You can actively engage with them.
Wow. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. We started with Egyptian hieroglyphs, Babylonian myths, then we got into the power of divine names, the intricacies of talismanic magic, even the crazy symbolic language of dreams. And what we're seeing is that Sefer Raziel Hamelach takes all of that, all those different threads, and it weaves them together, creates this amazing tapestry of ancient wisdom, and it's both practical and profound.
It really is. I think it speaks to how powerful those old mystical traditions really are, and it speaks to that human need to connect to something bigger than ourselves, something beyond all this.
For sure. But it also leaves me with so many questions, like how do we even begin to approach all of this in this day and age? What does it even mean to work with this kind of power? Especially now when things are so chaotic, when those lines between what's real and what's not, what we can see and what we can't, are so blurry.
It's the big question, isn't it? And Sefer Raziel Hamelach, it gives you all this knowledge, but it doesn't give you the answers. It's more like it throws you in the deep end and says, okay, start swimming. Start asking questions. Wrestle with these mysteries. Find your own way.
So it's not a how-to manual. It's more like a launch pad.
Yes, exactly. It's an invitation to reconnect with that ancient wisdom, to explore those hidden connections, the ones inside us and the ones that connect us to everything else. And maybe if we do that, we can rediscover that sense of wonder, that awe we feel when we realize how much we don't know.
That's a beautiful way to put it. Thank you so much for taking us on this incredible journey. It's been truly mind-blowing.
The pleasure was all mine. May your exploration be filled with insight, and may you find your path illuminated by that ancient wisdom.
And to everyone listening, we hope this deep dive has sparked your curiosity and inspired you to explore Sefer Raziel Hamelach for yourselves. Until next time, happy learning.